So here's my philosophy on music, and someone actually said that I'm experiencing psychosis when I explained this in a completely different way in the past when I was releasing one of my spiritual videos. Is that we do live in like the universe, all right? And uni meaning one and verse meaning song might make it a little bit more easier to change your perspective on like your place in this universe. You might being a note, you might being a composer, maybe an instrument, who knows? Or you being all in one, right? But when you like say something, you being three in one, you say something like the trilogy, and then you might have somewhere like someone on the other side saying, well, no, you can't be like that. But like it's all about your perspective. But going back to like the universe, if we're going to look at it at like a maybe like a sciencey point of view, right? We have these particles in motion, and like the motion we call like vibrations, out to the smallest molecule to like the biggest, and everything's vibrating. Even the planets, they're moving, okay? And to even give you like a more like esoteric thing, it's just like it's all like vibrating. Like there's like a celestial sound when you think about it. That's why when they say like if you're silent, you might be able to like hear something like whisper back to you or something like that. But like if you've never heard of that, we're not even gonna get into that. But like those particles in motion is like the universal substance, and you being able to like understand that and tap into that, which like a lot of people that get into like spirituality or just that side will call it like the universal mind, so like open the third eye and all that. But like there is an innate ability to connect to all of that, all right? um and you're connected by the universal threading. So like how that's like even remotely close to anything to do with music is because if you're thinking about threading, all right, you're gonna think about strings or like chords, all right, and like they're all kind of like the same thing, and you all string things together. If you're talking about something, the universe, you might be thinking of something now like the fabrics of reality itself, all right. And you might think of like a blanket or like a quilt. I like to think of it as a quilt because we each have our own little patch. If it's been there this whole time and it's still fully developing while it's been there the whole time, as if it's, yeah, I'm not even gonna go down that path, all right. But like when you understand it that way, when you get into music theory and like just and like this isn't even music theory, it's like when you just like start making music, like, and you start trying to like create chords, I think it's just like musical intuition is like a powerful thing because it's just like all the notes kind of string together. I believe you can use any collection of notes, to be honest, when it comes to like a scale. But in a chord, some chords just sound absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know, it's just everything strings together, everything kind of works out. Also, I believe that each song has its own place in the universe, in this whole grand scheme of things. So maybe why we're seeing so many things that have to do with like the multiverse itself is because there's so many multiple different songs being like sung at the same time, and you can look at that and think of that in any way that like might be able to help you understand it, so to speak. And like the way I like to say it is like there's something called like the song of the caged bird. I think that the song that the bird sings itself actually cages the bird, but it also like attracts other birds and they could actually cage them as well. An easy way to think of that is maybe someone might go viral off of saying like one thing on the internet, okay? And that could be the song. They could just be acting something out, right? And just the movement itself, the vibration, the shifting might cause a little bit of sound. So like there's a lot of different ways that we can create like a little tune, but that's getting into deeper talks. But those people might like just start dancing to the tune that the one bird is like singing over and over again, and they might never escape that cage, right? So I think it's important that when you're actually stringing things together, all right, that, and I kind of lost my train of thought, that's why I'm like just going to this back here. When you're stringing things together, to not get trapped in the song that you're singing. And it's just like we think that we have this thing that's going round and round in circles, and we call it loops. So even like coming back into music where everything loops together, it's like we have this thing where we have patterns and everyone thinks we're like in a simulation, I suppose. And it's just funny how some of the most beautiful music can just be like made off of a computer, which is an instrument, by the way, just how the other instruments are. And it's just maybe it's time for us to break out of those patterns and find the next step in the sequence, right? And it all goes back to music, right? We're talking about sequence, we're talking about rhythm, we're talking about steps. And this is when I talk about people getting in tune with themselves, finding their own like just rhythm, so to speak. And that's when we get into deeper talks about like the 33rd frequency and all that stuff. We can talk about your spine being a tuning fork and how you can like tune your instrument, your body, and like have a stronger mind to be able to connect to like this universal just reality that we live in, to help you be able to tap into like just what it is, so to speak. But you know what I'm saying? If you don't want to do that, you can just listen to music, and that's also cool. But this is just something that these are just You know, all this talk made it sound like I probably came up with like godlike chords, but I didn't. This is just something that I was just cooking up just earlier, I suppose.